Well, I'm down in the valley here, Tim. How's it up there? How's the weather in Oregon?
It's beautiful spring weather here. We're having a dry stretch around 80 degrees like Hawaii.
Well, like Hawaii.
Yeah, everything's lush and blooming, and spring is really showing its stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, how fast all those cells in the plants and everything are multiplying by the trillions or countless numbers all over all the leaves. It sure is amazing. And it seems like it's so fast that things grow in the spring.
Yeah, I do part-time gardening, and there's a couple weeks in the spring where everything just shoots up, and people there's always somebody that complains, why aren't you pulling those weeds out? Why are you letting them go? It's because overnight they grew practically, So it is a flush of growth, it really is. I was up in Northern California doing some extra work, and I was talking to this lady who's into this white light healing system. And it's just like Dwayne mentioned today about how long it took him to get something together to present this. I was attempting to talk about the is, and to bring that around to somebody in a way that makes sense is really challenging, because they want to go back to what their references are and what their anchor points are. So it's just something for them to really do themselves in a way. We can only give them hints. And we sure giving them a lot of hints. And Dwayne talks about this. We've got so much stuff on Facebook now, the books, the groups that he makes, what we're doing on Blog Talk Radio and Skypes and all that. There's a lot of stuff for people to take in, but they have to take that step themselves, really. And like he says, we're not obligated that they do or not. So it's, but anyway, I was talking to this lady, and she was just going back, she can't relate. People can't relate, so they just go back to what they know. And, we just had an interesting conversation because, she gets it. I think she gets the hint that there's something more than what she's seeing, that she's not willing, again, and she's not willing to go there. Maybe in the future she will be. But she's also she has a belief that things are getting better here on Earth, that she's one of those people that the bankers are being collected up and arrested, and the good guys are gonna, eventually take over. I asked her, who are the good guys? Who are they? She really couldn't answer, who they are, because, they are, in a way, don't exist. Or if they are out there, it's usually the bad guys disguised as the good guys. So the challenge, if anybody else has any experience with that too, with sharing individually.
Yeah, all the flowers in the garden don't bloom at the same time.
Yeah, right. Right. Good point. Nature takes its course the way it does,
I was thinking about how the Skypes and the Facebook and the Blog Talk Radio and the means of trying to get in touch with the other beings about whoever's ready right now. But then it seems like there's a lot of people that wouldn't be connected to this modern technology, but I don't know. I guess the majority on Earth is probably now. It just seems like there's a lot of people, way out in the far country compared to the city and the populated areas. But maybe that's just where they're supposed to be for now.
I see the real guides bringing them around somehow. If they're ready, they'll make a connection somehow. Somebody will walk along. Maybe Tim, you'll be driving along the old road there on the Oregon coast or something, and stop at a cafe or bar and talk to somebody who's just about ready to hear it or something. Even though they don't have an internet or any kind of social media. So I think people will, somehow life presents it to people who are ready, internet or not, because we're more than just that, although we do depend on it a lot here. So, yeah.
A bar sounds like I'd just be dealing with the astral entity stuff.
Right. Well, you never know. You never know. But most likely, yeah, they hang around there.
It is interesting how the alcohol and the drugs are so prevalent in the masses now. It seems like the information I'm seeing and stuff is more people are taking medication than aren't. It's very interesting how people are relying on these drugs to have a better life. They're convinced. And it's like my oldest brother, Bill, he got in a wreck in a sandstorm, and he had a new little Prius, and him and a gal were driving along, and they hit a sandstorm and ran into the back of a semi, and then another semi slammed into them. So they got sandwiched.
Wow.
And I think that they put him on medication. I think that, and that might have been what caused him to pass away, was the medication stuff that they give you nowadays. If you have pain or something, they always have the prescription to and nowadays it's been epidemic of what they give people of the heroin family. It just seems like, and they get addicted because it does make their physical body feel good or better, or maybe their mind gets convinced that they need it to feel okay. So it's like Paul Twitchell was saying, it is right now in our face that there's a majority of people that are on drugs and alcohol, all the stuff going on. So I don't think those people are ready right now, but I do see that could change very fast for them if they really had a purpose in life to change their habits, which would be to that's what changed my lifestyle, was Paul Twitchell's book, The Ekvidya, and it had such a effect on me about wanting to experience the soul travel, out of the body stuff, and he said that you can't drink and you can't smoke or do drugs, and so the desire was to experience that was more important than drinking or smoking or doing any drugs. So I'm very thankful that just by Paul's writing, the big effect it had on my life, and also probably the guidance that's brought me to this point with the new presentation with Dwayne, and everybody involved with these Skypes and the information and the guidance. I guess you call it the education we're getting about life and about real universes. It's all like I never heard about reptilians. I wasn't paying any attention when I was in a drinking lifestyle and doing my share of drugs and smoking cigarettes for more than 40 years. And luckily I was active or something and haven't ever had any effects from it. But I do see by the experiences that I've gone through, the comparison that I do believe at times that the astral entities, when I would be a drunk or something, were enjoying themselves by the actions that I was doing, like being mind controlled when you're under the influence of the alcohol real strong. It's almost amazing that people live through the alcohol life without dying one way or the other when they're intoxicated.
These bodies are really pretty resilient in a big way. At the same time, they're vulnerable. That they can take a lot, and it's true that we abuse them a lot, and they're abused from the outside with our diets and the Wi-Fi and all that stuff. So it's a big challenge here for the body to have a body, no matter if it's an animal or plant or human or alien. It's all creation. It's all polluted and distorted here. So we're here to offset it a bit if we can.
Yeah, it's amazing that now it's one thing after another. If it isn't the Wi-Fi and the vaccinations and the chemical stuff in the air, they're just seeming like anything to give us the slow torture of the physical body to destroy it the best they can. It seems like it's a lot to deal with. All the subliminal stuff we're being bombarded with, the propaganda that's so put in our face in the media, and it's a very interesting experience. Quite an adventure to be alive right now.
Yeah, this lady I was talking to today, she believed that the good guys were going to help out and really, do something here for the betterment of mankind. And I think a lot of people believe things, they have this mindset, technology will take care of things, or the next president will take care of things, they'll turn it around. Or their spiritual path, like Ekankar, it really doesn't matter here, as long as I do the spiritual exercises and chant Mahanta, I'll be taken care of. This is just a training ground. Everybody has their ideas about things. So I like what Dwayne and the real guides are presenting here is helping us to see what actually is happening, not what we believe is happening. So that's a biggie here, because this is an illusion here. I mean, it's set up, like you said today on the Skype, creation is to compare with, what did he say? Help. He said creation is here to help us recognize the illusion, something like that. That it is.
Yeah.
Do you remember what he said exactly? I think I wrote it down.
Yeah, I wrote it down too. It's in the other room. I could go find it.
Let's see. Creation is a reference to what is not real. Tim, did you go find it? Because I found it already.
Oh,
Cases.
yeah, no,
Is a creation is a reference to what is not real. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So we have these ideas about things, and it's kind of neat the way they kind of fall off when we see what really is happening. They sort of like just melt away or disappear or whatever it is for each person, but they just, we don't need them anymore, basically. We don't need these certain ideas that is holding us back from being more aware or is restricting us in some way. So it's really cool the way the guides offer this to people. They show us how creation is what it is. It's not what people think it is usually, and that's been kind of my little way of looking at things, or my experience, that is like it's never what I think it is. In terms of when waking up, because I can think or have ideas or consider. Not that I do all the time, but if I do think, well, what if I was awake, or what, seventh level? I mean, I don't go there with that kind of stuff, but I mean, just as an example, using my imagination, what is it like to, yeah. So, but if I did do that, it's never what I think, because it's so much better all the time. Waking up to something, how as life gives you something, or the is gives you something, more, or shows itself in some way. It's just so subtly profound, or whatever. It's just so cool. And but Dwayne did talk about seeing it from how the is sees it today, I think. So that's interesting. Seeing it how the is sees it. Kevin, do you have anything to share today?
Well, just before I came onto this Skype, I was having some dreams. I was just writing them down before
Okay.
I came on here.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, I just got it finished just as this Skype began. It was stuff about future robotic world, which I'll be relaying on my next Skype on Sunday. It's all very exciting and very science and stuff, the stuff of science fiction and so on and so forth. Yeah.
And can you give us a preview or something, or a glimpse?
I mean, I could read it out, I suppose, but I'll just do a short version. Otherwise, you'll be listening to me burbling all evening.
Okay.
Well, I was just looking through the eyes of various individuals in what seemed to be a sort of like a future Orwellian, extremely robotized and controlled world, and the individuals there, it seemed everybody in this world all had, as I said, were all very mechanized, and that everybody seemed to have these strange mechanical jaws as well, these mechanical attachments to their jaws, and if anybody stepped out of line, they would be made to explode, to keep people in line, and the fear of that happening and so on. And so I was looking through the eyes of all these various individuals who were like rebels of the system and dissidents of the system and stuff like that, and they were finding ingenious ways of sort of thwarting the system, and they'd managed to remove their jaws with the attachment and replace them with fake ones and stuff like that, and there were microchips in all the jaws as well that would sort of trigger detectors as they went through all these various checkpoints, and so it was one way that they could determine if these individuals had fake jaws or not, and of course they wouldn't sort of trigger it would trigger the system and stuff like that, and that's basically the gist of it. So I suppose it would be a dream about a possible heads up, the future robot world that we're all heading for, etc.
Yeah, you sure are.
It was so convoluted and so sort of like all mixed up, and all various elements all running together, and it was very hard to pick apart the strands and sort of put it together into a linear sequence that I could recount and make sense of, sort of thing. But that's the best I could do based on it. I put in a bit more detail, so it'd be a bit more fun to recount on the Sunday. But yeah. It beats the dream I had the day before that, where I was attacked by all these what seemed to be insects and bugs and that while I was in my sleep. That was quite alarming.
And
That's quite weird. I was sort of flicking between being asleep and being awake, and while I was asleep, I was being attacked by all these funny bugs and insects and all sorts of creepy crawlies and nasties. And when I was awake, I was like being prodded and poked, and all my pillows were being tugged out from under my head, and my blankets were being thrown about and stuff like that. And then I'd go back to sleep, and I was being attacked by the insects again and stuff like that. It went back and forth for ages.
Yeah.
And then when the weirdest part about it, the last part, was this very huge rat. Then this is when I was asleep again in the dream. Suddenly, this very huge rat came into the room and into my room, and it sat by me and scared all the creatures away, and all the torment came to an end.
You might ask the maid to like even out your blankets and stuff like that, so you don't have these, wrinkles in it. You create the insects and the biting and all that. It's the joke. But anyway.
Yeah. It's pretty alarming, but it's one of those those things where the dark forces are attacking us, because they don't like what we're doing, etc., etc., trying to put us off and scare us and things. But as usual, there's always a case where either we have the ability to deal with it ourselves, or a guide will step in and do so, because they're always keeping an eye out on our activities and have our welfare in mind, because as Dwayne is saying, they look after their own. So I think that's one of the main things. One of the good things, amongst many of the New You singing, is that it does afford protection, and the guys are always there, keeping an eye on you, keeping all the nasties at bay.
Yes. And you mentioned the AI and the robots, and I remember Putin saying, "Whoever controls AI will control the world." And that's after LBJ, the president of the United States, once said, "Whoever controls the weather will control the world." There's different ways of controlling the world, for the controllers, the bad guys. And then whoever's with the reptilians, will control. Whoever's making a deal with them. There's so many different angles to this. What we're into. Is Edward there? No Edward either? Okay. Yeah. Edward.
Here listening to you.
Do you have anything today, Edward?
Hi there. Well, I'm just saying, I'm having a great time listening to you guys.
Who's that? Yeah. Where are you from, Edward? Where, I forgot. Canada, was it?
No, I'm up here in Arkansas. I'm on the Arkansas-Missouri border.
Okay.
Yeah, up here in the mountains, up here. And it's beautiful up here, you guys.
Yeah, it must be in the springtime.
Can you guys?
It's kind of sketchy. You're kind of going in and out.
Okay. All right. So so let me listen to you guys and let me work on my signal. Maybe I can get a better connection here.
Okay. All right.
Even if the reptilians were to use psychic forces and make this world change, like the air, water, and food and stuff like that, or with these technologies of holograms, and they can pretend to be like a god to a lot of people, it would still be just about, they'd have their reasons of control. That would even make them, more people would seem to think that they were God to them or something.